New Mexico Attorney General's Office, Consumer Protection Division, 408 Galisteo Street, Santa Fe, New Mexico 87501. Santa Fe County District Attorney's Office, 102 Grand Avenue, Santa Fe, New Mexico 87501. New Mexico State Bar Office of Disciplinary Counsel, 5121 Masthead Street, Northeast Albuquerque, New Mexico 87109. Subject: formal inquiry regarding potential fraud, false pretenses, perjury, and conflicts of interest in the Forrest Fenn treasure hunt. I am writing to request a formal investigation into potential legal and financial irregularities associated with the Forrest Fenn treasure hunt, a widely publicized event that originated in New Mexico and culminated in 2020 with Jack Stoof, a 32-year-old medical student from Michigan, claiming to have found the treasure chest in Wyoming. The treasure hunt, initiated by Forrest Fenn, a Santa Fe-based antiquities dealer, has been linked to at least 6 fatalities nationwide and raises serious concerns about fraud, misrepresentation, conflicts of interest, and perjury. Recent evidence, including inconsistencies in sworn statements, affidavits, public actions, and widely known allegations, suggests possible violations, including financial fraud, false pretenses, perjury, and attorney conflicts of interest. Forrest Fenn hid a bronze chest filled with gold, jewels, and other valuables in the Rocky Mountains in 2010, publishing clues in his 2010 memoir, The Thrill of the Chase. The hunt gained international attention, drawing thousands of participants, but resulted in significant tragedy. At least 5 to 6 individuals died searching for the treasure, prompting the New Mexico State Police Chief in 2017 to urge Fenn to end the hunt due to its dangers. In June 2020, Fenn announced that the treasure had been found, but he did not disclose the finder's identity or the exact location. Fenn passed away in September 2020 at age 90. On December 7, 2020, Shiloh Old, Fenn's grandson, confirmed that Jack Stoof had found the chest in Wyoming, citing a federal court order in a lawsuit against the Fenn estate that required the disclosure of Stoof's identity. However, discrepancies in Stoof's account, the handling of the treasure, and the actions of Fenn's estate suggest the public, including thousands of treasure hunters who invested significant time, resources, and in some cases their lives, may have been misled. I have reviewed the following documents and information, which form the basis of my concerns. Affidavit of Carl H. Summer, November 2022. Affidavit of Jonathan K. Stoof, November 2022. Affidavit of Zoe Fenn Old, November 2022. Declaration of Zoe Fenn Old, July 20th, 2020. Public records and reports regarding the sale of the treasure chest contents at Heritage Auctions in Dallas, Texas, by Justin Posey and Tesoro Sagrado Holdings, LLC, in December 2022. Text message from Shiloh Old to Christy Ogilvy, dated August 7th, 2023. Public statements and online content, including Forrest Fenn's scrapbook 215, October 2019. Fenn's December 2019 and March 2020 emails. To Dal Neitzel, Shiloh Old's comments. Pam Shetron's claims, 2021. And Douglas Preston's statement on Medium, September 2020. Stoof's statements in Chasing the Thrill by Daniel Barbarisi and his Medium article, A Remembrance of Forrest Fenn. An email exchange between Jack Stoof and Forrest Fenn, June 5, 2020. Audio recording of Forrest Fenn speaking to Dal Neitzel, October 2019. Video recording of Forrest Fenn speaking to Christy Ogilvy, November 4, 2019. Email exchanges between Forrest Fenn and Dal Neitzel, post-June 2020, regarding the chest discovery. Photographs of the treasure chest and its lid, released by the Fenn estate following Jamie McCracken's lawsuit. Photograph of Forrest Fenn wearing a turquoise bracelet, June 2020. Outside Magazine's publication of Jack Stoof's Treasure Find Story, December 2020. Several critical inconsistencies in actions warrant immediate attention. Discrepancy regarding Zoe Fenn Old's inventory of the treasure chest. Zoe Old's November 2022. Affidavit claims she personally conducted an inventory of the treasure chest and its contents after Forrest Fenn's death on September 7, 2020, to ensure specific items, gold frog and necklace, were included for Jack Stoof, and to facilitate an exchange for Fenn's turquoise bracelet. This conflicts with her July 20th, 2020 declaration, which states the treasure chest and its contents are not owned by or in the possession or control of the estate, are not in any inventory I prepared as part of the probate or any other proceeding, and were never owned by the estate and at no time have been in my possession or control. This declaration also incorrectly refers to Forrest Fenn as deceased, despite him being alive until September the 7th, 2020, raising questions about its authenticity and timing. Carl Summers' November 2022 affidavit, which states Forrest Fenn gifted the treasure chest to Jack Stoof on June 11, 2020, relinquishing all possession and control, implying Stoof exclusively possessed the chest thereafter. Jack Stoof's public statements, e.g. to Medium, and affidavit, which indicate he placed the treasure chest in a vault in Santa Fe after finding it, suggesting it was secured in his possession, not the estate's. How could Zoe inventory a chest not in her possession and supposedly secured in Stoof's vault? This discrepancy suggests potential falsification, misrepresentation, or a coordinated effort to fabricate the narrative of the chest's discovery, gift, or sale. Discrepancies involving the turquoise bracelet and Stoof's description of the chest. In Chasing the Thrill, Jack Stoof described the treasure chest to national reporter Daniel Barbarisi as very dirty with spider webs around the perimeter and plastic bags brimming with water, suggesting a waterlogged state. Photographs released by the Fenn estate following Jamie McCracken's lawsuit, which the estate claims were taken by Stoof, show the plastic bags are not brimming with water. It appears dry, with items inside but no visible liquid, contradicting Stoof's description of a waterlogged state. Inconsistency in the coin's condition between photographs. While one photograph shows the coins as relatively clean and shiny, another photograph reveals the coins to be very dirty, with visible dirt, grime, and discoloration, more consistent with Stoof's description of the chest being very dirty. Stoof told Daniel Barbarisi in Chasing the Thrill that he left the chest exactly as he found it after taking photos, citing legal concerns and a desire for Fenn's permission before removing anything. This stark discrepancy in the coin's condition between the two images raises significant concerns. If both photos were taken at the same time, as Stoof claims, the coins should appear consistently clean or dirty. The inconsistency suggests either one of the photos was staged or manipulated, or the coins were cleaned between the two photographs, which contradicts Stoof's claim of leaving the chest exactly as he found it. This discrepancy supports the broader argument that the treasure hunt's conclusion was fabricated, as the differing conditions of the coins indicate an attempt to present a more convincing narrative of a weathered, long-hidden treasure in one image, while another image, possibly taken earlier or staged, shows a cleaner, less authentic state. Absence of the turquoise bracelet in the photographs. Fenn stated the turquoise bracelet was the last item he placed in the chest, and Stoof claims in Chasing the Thrill and his Medium article, A Remembrance of Forrest Fenn, that he returned the bracelet to Fenn. A photograph of Fenn, published alongside the Medium article and taken between June and September 2020, shows him wearing a turquoise bracelet, supporting Stoof's claim. However, the photographs of the chest, which Stoof told Barbarisi he took exactly as he found it, before removing anything, do not show the turquoise bracelet. This raises significant concerns. If the bracelet was in the chest, as Fenn stated, and Stoof did not remove anything before taking the photos, it should be visible. Its absence suggests either the bracelet was never in the chest, contradicting Fenn's statement, or Stoof removed it before taking the photos, contradicting his claim of leaving the chest exactly as he found it. Stoof never explicitly states he found the bracelet in the chest, only that he returned it to Fenn, leaving open the possibility he obtained it through other means, e.g. from Fenn or the estate, and claimed to have returned it as part of the treasure hunt narrative. Timeline conflict with the turquoise bracelet's return. Zoe Fenn Olds, November 2022. Affidavit states that after Fenn's death, she conducted an inventory of the chest and exchanged the turquoise bracelet with Stouf's representative, receiving the bracelet in return for a gold frog and necklace. However, Stouf's Medium article and the June 2020 photo of Fenn wearing the bracelet suggest Fenn had it before his death. This creates a timeline conflict. If Fenn was wearing the bracelet in June 2020, how could Stouf's representative have given it to Zoe after September 2020? This suggests either the bracelet in the photo is not the same one, Stouf returned it to Fenn and it was later returned to Stouf for the exchange, or the affidavit misrepresents the timeline to resolve legal disputes, e.g., lawsuits by treasure hunters like Jamie McCracken. This ambiguity fuels suspicion that the bracelet's chain of custody was misrepresented to align with a fabricated narrative of the treasure hunt's conclusion. The estate's control over the sale and provenance of the treasure chest. In December 2022, the contents of the treasure chest, 476 items, excluding the chest itself, dragon bracelet, and a few other items retained by Tesoro Sagrado Holdings, LLC, were sold at Heritage Auctions in Dallas, Texas, generating $1.3 million. Jack Stouf sold the chest and its contents to Tesoro Sagrado Holdings, LLC, on September 19, 2022, which is now associated with Justin Posey. Reports indicate the Fenn estate conditioned the treasure's provenance on its sale exclusively to Justin Posey, despite higher bids from other potential buyers during the auction. This exertion of control over the sale directly conflicts with Carl Summers' affidavit, which states that on June 11, 2020, Forrest Fenn relinquished all possession and control of the treasure chest to Jack Stouf. If the estate no longer had control, how could it dictate the sale or provenance, suggesting a misrepresentation of ownership or influence? Shiloh Old's text message and claims over the solution. On August 7, 2023, Shiloh Old, Forrest Fenn's grandson, sent a text message to Christy Ogilvie, K-Pro, stating, "We are not actively trying to sell the solution. If somebody with a valid, interesting, and honest project or use for it approaches us looking to use it, then we could consider sharing for a cost. However, we're not out looking, and it's very low on the priority list. For various reasons, we aren't even sure that we would want to share it. This is a very complicated thing for my family, and for me personally. We've never put an exact dollar amount on the solution. While I respect Justin and don't believe he's lying or trying to mislead anybody on purpose, he is wrong. I believe he's either getting wrong information from somebody or he's misinterpreted the information he's been given. No fault to him, most likely, but he's wrong." These statements raise significant concerns. Why would Shiloh Old, as a member of the Fenn family, claim ownership or control over the solution, presumably the location or method of finding the treasure, which should belong to Jack Stouf, the finder, according to the affidavits? This suggests the estate or family may retain undisclosed influence or claim over the treasure's location, contradicting the narrative of Stouf's exclusive find and Fenn's relinquishment of control. Publicly available information and widespread knowledge strongly suggest Jack Stouf's role as the finder of the treasure was fabricated. Key evidence includes Forrest Fenn's scrapbook 215, October 2019, titled Business Partners. Fenn refers to his business partners as Billy Bob's and Mary Lou's. Jack Stouf later confirmed in a Q&A that Fenn called him Bill around the house, implying Stouf was one of these partners well before the alleged June 2020 find. Forrest Fenn's visit to Outside Magazine, April 2019. Fenn visited Outside Magazine's headquarters with Cynthia Meekum and met with Larry Burke, the president and owner, with whom Fenn had a friendly relationship. Outside Magazine published at least 7 stories about Fenn's treasure hunt over the years, culminating in Jack Stouf's treasure find story in December 2020, and also produced a podcast titled Missed Fortune, further amplifying the hunt's narrative. Additionally, according to a report by Christy Ogilvie on The Cowlazar Show, during this April 2019 visit, it was revealed that a major motion picture was being planned, with Larry Burke having obtained the rights to Fenn's life story, and speculation pointed to Lionsgate as the potential studio. This visit, over a year before Stooff's alleged find, combined with Fenn's evident connection to Burke and the extensive media planning, suggests Fenn may have been orchestrating the narrative of the treasure's discovery well in advance, leveraging a trusted associate and a major media outlet to control the story's dissemination and lend credibility to a prearranged finder like Stooff, further supporting the theory of a staged conclusion to the hunt. Forrest Fenn's December 2019 statement. In an email to Dal Neitzel on December 7, 2019, Fenn stated, "I will cause the treasure chest to be photographed in situ and then retrieved," indicating he planned to orchestrate the chest's recovery himself, not rely on an independent discovery. This contradicts the narrative of Stooff's find and aligns with Michael Sexton's death on September 6, 2020, while searching, believing the treasure was still hidden. A Remembrance of Forrest Fenn, September 2020. An article published on Medium detailed Stooff's alleged discovery of the treasure. However, Pam Shetron of North Carolina came forward in 2021, claiming she received portions of this article in October 2019, before Stooff's supposed June 2020 discovery. Shetron alleged that on October 25, 2019, she received an email from Forrest Fenn that was accidentally sent to her but intended for his grandson, Shiloh. According to Shetron, this email contained parts of the Medium article later published by Stooff, suggesting that Shiloh Old was aware of or involved in crafting the narrative of Stooff's find nearly a year before it was announced. Shetron also asserts she is 99.9% certain Stooff did not write A Remembrance of Forrest Fenn and describes Stooff as a work of fiction, reinforcing the notion that his role was fabricated. This demonstrates the story was pre-written, indicating Stooff did not author his own find narrative and that the discovery was staged, with Shiloh Old's complicity. Douglas Preston's statement, September 2020. A longtime friend of Forrest Fenn, who wrote the foreword to Fenn's book Once Upon a While, linked to Stooff's Medium article, A Remembrance of Forrest Fenn, on his own Medium page shortly after its publication. Preston wrote, "Make sure to show your support for the finder and other authors of fiction." This statement, made by a close associate of Fenn, suggests that Preston knew Stooff's account to be fictional, further supporting the notion that the find was staged and that key figures close to Fenn were aware of or complicit in the deception. Shiloh Old is on record stating the family discussed alternative endings and remarked, "No conspiracy in my opinion, haha," suggesting awareness or involvement in a fabricated outcome for the treasure hunt. Jack Stooff's prior work as a satire writer for The Onion, a well-known humor publication, raises questions about the likelihood of such an individual independently solving Fenn's treasure hunt. The odds of an Onion writer emerging as the finder seem improbable, suggesting he may have been handpicked for this role. Additionally, Stooff's origin in Fenton, Michigan, a detail tying his name phonetically to Fenn, further supports the possibility that he was selected to play a scripted part in concluding the hunt, aligning with the stage narrative. Jack Stooff's uncharacteristic behavior. Jack's actions following the alleged discovery appear inconsistent with self-interest, particularly financial self-interest. Rather than monetizing the solution, the location or method of finding the chest, or selling his story to media outlets, both of which could have yielded significant profit, Stooff sold the chest and olive jar containing Fenn's autobiography to Justin Posey, who in turn sold it to John Collins Black at Heritage Auctions without even opening it. Forgoing potential value or publicity, this behavior is unusual for someone who independently solved a decade-long treasure hunt. Additionally, the Fenn estate entered into a joint defense agreement with Stooff, aligning their legal interests despite Stooff's supposed independence as the finder. This arrangement suggests a coordinated effort to protect a shared narrative at the expense of transparency. The email Stooff sent to Forrest Fenn on June 5, 2020, after allegedly finding the chest, is highly unusual. Stooff wrote that he would return the chest to Fenn at no charge, stating, "If you would like to gift it to me, a gift deed could be drawn up." This language is bizarre for an independent treasure hunter, implying Stooff was retrieving the chest at Fenn's direction, rather than claiming it as his own discovery. Months passed with no evidence of a gift deed from Fenn, who died in September 2020. Carl Summers' November 2022 affidavit claims he witnessed Fenn gifting the chest to Stoof on June 11, 2020, yet no supporting documentation, e.g., a gift deed, was provided, only Summers' assertion. Zoe Fenn's November 2022 affidavit then states she gifted the chest to Stoof after Fenn's death, contradicting Summers' timeline. This lack of proof and conflicting accounts suggests the gifting narrative was fabricated post-mortem to legitimize Stoof's possession, further supporting the theory of a staged find. Forrest Fenn's intent to end the chase in public deception. Emails and recordings from late 2019, along with post-discovery correspondence in 2020, reveal Fenn's serious consideration of ending the treasure hunt due to safety risks, public threats, and his own exhaustion with the endeavor, as well as his concern about how the conclusion would be received. In an audio recording from October 2019, Fenn told Dal Neitzel, "It was fun to begin with, but now I'm trying to figure out how to get out." "How can I get out, Dal?" He continued, "If I announce the treasure chest has been found, are people going to believe it?" In the same recording, Fenn complained about the volume of emails he was receiving from searchers, prompting Dal to suggest opening another email account. Fenn declined, stating he didn't want to because he liked receiving emails from Larry Burke, the president and owner of Outside Magazine and an apparent friend, and Douglas Preston, a close associate. This reflects Fenn's intent to conclude the hunt, his awareness that a fabricated announcement might not be accepted, and his reliance on key allies like Burke and Preston, suggesting a planned, possibly deceptive resolution supported by trusted media and personal contacts. On November 4, 2019, in a video recording, Fenn spoke to Christy Ogilvie, K-Pro, saying, "The people that finds that treasure, I would like for him to hand it to me and warm up to the idea it can get pretty abstract if you're not careful." In the same interview, Christy Ogilvie asked Fenn, "Well, so talking about when someone does find the treasure, the chest and the contents are theirs, correct?" "They will own that treasure," to which Fenn responded, "I said in my poem, I give you title to the gold. But there are a lot of subchapter S's to that rule too, but I don't want to go there." This ambiguous statement about ownership, referencing unspecified subchapter S's conditions, suggests Fenn may have intended to retain control over the treasure's disposition despite public claims, further aligning with his desire for a specific finder to return it to him and casting doubt on the legitimacy of Stoof's independent discovery. On December 7, 2019, in an email to Dal Neitzel, Fenn drafted a statement, "The chase is over," citing 4 searcher fatalities, arrests, property invasions, death threats, and a state police chief's request to stop the search. He stated, "I will cause the treasure chest to be photographed in situ and then retrieved," indicating he planned to orchestrate the chest recovery by arranging for someone like Jack Stoof to retrieve it under his direction. This aligns with the possibility of a controlled conclusion rather than an independent discovery, yet contradicts the public narrative of Stoof's find and connects to Michael Sexton's death on September 6, 2020, while searching, believing the treasure was still hidden. In March 2020, Fenn considered suspending the search due to COVID-19 restrictions, but Dal advised against it, suggesting a public warning instead, which Fenn published. However, the chest was announced as found on June 6, 2020, without disclosing Fenn's prior intent, deceiving the public and searchers like Michael Sexton, who died on September 6, 2020, believing the treasure remained hidden. After the chest was found in June 2020 and photographs were released, Fenn emailed Dal Neitzel asking, "Are you mad at me?" Dal replied that he was not mad, though Fenn never explained why he asked. Dal then asked via email, "Will I ever know how the chase ended?" Fenn responded, "I will tell you, but I can't do it right now." Dal later speculated that Fenn thought he might be upset because Fenn had ended the chase as previously indicated in the December 2019 email. "I will cause the treasure chest to be photographed in situ and then retrieved." Dal believed Fenn had found someone to give enough information so they could go get the chest and end the chase, despite Dal's earlier advice against ending it. Dal noted, "It looked like to me he had ended it," suggesting Fenn's question stemmed from concern that Dal would disapprove of this orchestrated conclusion. This exchange further implies Fenn controlled the hunt's end, potentially through Stoof, and was hesitant to fully disclose the details. This pattern suggests Fenn, the estate, and possibly Carl Summer and Jack Stoof orchestrated a false narrative to conclude the hunt, protect the estate from liability, and avoid public backlash, exploiting participants' trust and leading to tragic outcomes, with media support from allies like Larry Burke at Outside Magazine amplifying the controlled narrative. Fenn's ambiguous comments about ownership further indicate misrepresentation to the public, historical context, and public impact. The treasure hunt resulted in significant public investment, with thousands of participants dedicating years to solving Fenn's clues. At least 5 to 6 individuals died searching, including Michael Sexton, September 6, 2020, and others faced risks, prompting the New Mexico State Police Chief in 2017 to urge Fenn to end the hunt. Multiple lawsuits have been filed against the estate, including by Bruno Rafos, July 2021, Barbara Anderson, and Jamie McCracken, alleging misconduct such as moving the chest or stealing solutions. The release of the photographs following McCracken's lawsuit suggests an attempt to address legal challenges, but their inconsistencies with Stoof's description and between each other further underscore the need for investigation into misrepresentation. Upcoming Netflix docuseries and implications for public interest and transparency. A new Netflix docuseries, Golden Greed: The Hunt for Fenn's Treasure, is scheduled for release on March 27, 2025. This 3-part series, directed by Jared McGilliard, will explore the decade-long Forrest Fenn treasure hunt, focusing on the adventurers who risked their lives to find the treasure. The release of this docu-series is likely to reignite public interest in the hunt and its controversial conclusion, bringing renewed scrutiny to the discrepancies and allegations of fraud surrounding Stoof's claim as the finder. Notably, Jack Stoof will not be interviewed in the series, and he has not given a single media interview in the 5 years since the treasure was found in 2020, a silence that raises further questions about the authenticity of his discovery and suggests a lack of transparency that could be indicative of fraudulent activity. However, Zoe Old and Shiloh Old, key figures in the aftermath of the hunt, will be interviewed in the series, given their significant roles in the estate's handling of the treasure and its narrative. Their participation offers an opportunity to clarify critical issues, such as the timeline of the turquoise bracelet's return and the estate's actions following Fenn's death, which could either dispel or substantiate suspicions of fraud, depending on the candor and consistency of their statements. Their insights may shed light on the hunt's conclusion and the estate's involvement, making their interviews pivotal to assessing the transparency, or lack thereof, in this matter. Additional concerns. This inquiry aligns with broader issues I've raised about the Forrest Fenn treasure hunt, including potential financial fraud and false pretenses, as the treasure's discovery, gift, and sale appear to have been staged to protect the Fenn estate from liability and manipulate financial outcomes. Conflicts of interest by Carl Summer, who represented multiple parties, Fenn, the estate, Stoof, Shiloh Old, and Justin Posey, without apparent disclosure or consent, potentially violating New Mexico rules of professional conduct, Rule 16-107. The following is a quote from Christy Ogilvie on Calazar's show about Carl Summer's conflict of interest. Carl Summer represented the joint defense agreement between Forrest and Jack Stoof. He represented Forrest when Forrest died. He represented Zoe Old, Forrest's daughter, and he has represented and sent cease and desists on behalf of Shiloh Old, Forrest's grandson, and he represented Justin Posey, the buyer of the Fenn treasure, one of 5 members of Tesoro Sagrado Holdings, LLC, until he didn't. Misrepresentations about charitable contributions from the thrill of the chase and the controlled sale of the treasure, suggesting manipulation for financial gain, perjury or falsification of legal documents, particularly regarding Zoe Fenn Old's conflicting statements about possession and inventory of the treasure chest, and Carl Sommer's claims of relinquishment of control. Request for investigation. I respectfully urge your offices to investigate the following: perjury or falsification of legal documents by Zoe Fenn, Carl Sommer, or others involved, particularly regarding the July 2020 declaration, November 2022 affidavits, and the undocumented claim of the chest being gifted to Stoof in June 2020. Financial fraud, false pretenses, or detrimental reliance related to the treasure's discovery, gift, sale, provenance restrictions, and staged narrative, including Stoof's potentially fabricated account of the chest's condition, the turquoise bracelet's handling, and his failure to monetize the find despite opportunities, e.g., selling the olive jar unopened to John Collins Black, not engaging with media. Conflicts of interest and ethical breaches by Carl Sommer under New Mexico law, including his role in the joint defense agreement with Stoof and lack of documentation for the alleged June 2020 gifting. Consumer fraud concerning misrepresented charitable contributions or the treasure's legitimacy. The veracity of Stoof's account, including whether the turquoise bracelet was in the chest, the accuracy of his description of the chest's condition, the timeline of the bracelet's return, and the intent behind his June 5, 2020, email offering to return the chest to Fenn at no charge, as well as his background as an Onion satire writer and origin in Fenton, Michigan, suggesting a stage role. The accuracy of Fenn's statements about the turquoise bracelet's placement in the chest and the overall integrity of the treasure hunt's conclusion, including his recorded intent to end the hunt and orchestrate its recovery, October 2019 audio, November 4, 2019 video, December 2019 email, and his post-June 2020 email exchange with Dal Neitzel, expressing concern about Dal's reaction and delaying full disclosure of how the chase ended. The disposition of the treasure chest and its contents, particularly the turquoise bracelet and olive jar, to ensure no items were improperly removed or misrepresented, including the circumstances of the olive jar's sale to John Collins Black at Heritage Auctions. The involvement of Shiloh Old in potentially orchestrating a staged narrative, as suggested by Pam Shetron's claims about the October 2019 email and her assertion that Stoof did not write the Medium article and was a fictional construct, alongside the awareness or complicity of other close associates, such as Douglas Preston and media outlets like Outside Magazine, in the fabricated narrative. The authenticity of the photographs released by the Fenn estate, including the inconsistency in the coin's condition between the two images, and whether the release of these photos was intended to mislead legal proceedings or the public. The nature and implications of the joint defense agreement between the Fenn estate and Jack Stoof, including its impact on transparency and potential coordination of a false narrative. Please examine the attached documents, public records, e.g., Heritage Auction Sale Details, December 2022, Shiloh Old's text message to Christy Ogilvie, August 7, 2023, online content, e.g. by Scrapbook 215, Medium article, Fenn's emails to Dal Neitzel, Douglas Preston's Medium post, Outside Magazine article from December 2020, Pam Shetron's claims, 2021, the email exchange between Stoof and Fenn, June 5, 2020, audio recording of Fenn to Neitzel, October 2019, video recording of Fenn to Ogilvie, November 4, 2021, 2019, email exchanges between Fenn and Neitzel, post-June 2020 regarding the chest discovery, photographs of the chest and its lid released by the Fenn estate, the photograph of Fenn wearing the turquoise bracelet, and any relevant financial or legal records, e.g. vault logs, probate filings, sale agreements, communications between parties, joint defense agreement documentation. I also request coordination with authorities in Colorado, Wyoming, and Montana, where the treasure's location and participant activities may have occurred. Please advise on the next steps to initiate this inquiry, including any additional information or documentation required. I am available to discuss this matter further and provide supporting evidence as needed. Thank you for your attention to this serious matter.